Hi, I'm Alex Dekker, author of Desert Heist, and this is One Final Twist.
So, Alex, I'm super excited to talk to you today because one of my favorite things is number one, you're a debut author, but your background is very extensive and the range is really wide. So, I'm going to read off what I found and just tell me if we're wrong because it gives so much background for this book too and kind of where you're at. Let's see, your background almost sounds fictional. When I look at it, I'm like, holy fright, this is a real guy. Spending nearly 20 years as a Green Beret, served with the 5th Special Forces Group deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, speaks more than one language, has a master's degree in applied intelligence from Georgetown, and volunteers on archaeological digs. Am I right so far?
Good so far.
Okay. And this is one thing that I didn't realize is that your wife is a former CIA operations officer.
She is, yeah.
Okay, I don't want to find either one of you in a back alley. Like, I think I'm pretty badass, but I don't want to run into either one of you, just so you know.
Fair
um,
enough.
Tell us a little bit about Desert Heist.
So, Desert Heist is my debut book, as you mentioned, and it essentially follows a Green Beret whose career somewhat mirrored mine, but rather than doing a full 20, he got out mid-career and pursued his other passion in life, which is history and archaeology. And as he goes to present his dissertation to the examining committee, he's looking for this lost city in the Arabian Desert he believes exists that he's been tracking for several years. He kind of gets told by the examining committee that it's not going to work out, and also gets his permit denied to go search for it. Like any good Green Beret does, doesn't let it stop him and decides to go it anyway, and enlists the help of some of his former teammates that he's worked with in the past to help him along the way.
Were your teammates based on real people? And of course, I have to give a shout out to Paducah, Kentucky, that shows up in this book. So that's really exciting. And at the end, the soldiers. Oh my goodness, I wrote it down. The bourbon. It's in Somerset.
Hmm.
The bourbon at the end of the book. That's like 45 minutes from my house.
The
So that
horse
was
soldiers.
yeah.
So horse soldiers bourbon was founded by some former Green Beret guys. They're some of the first guys to go into Afghanistan in 2001, hence the horse soldiers moniker. So I felt right. That's what they celebrate with in the book. It just kind of made sense. As far as Paducah goes, I've spent some time in Paducah. I was at fifth group for almost a decade, and so very familiar and with that region and that part of the country. So that also kind of made sense. As far as the characters, so the characters in the book are kind of based on a conglomeration of people that I've met throughout my career. Maybe not one in particular person, but kind of taking different, interesting, and unique personalities and put them together to make those robust and interesting and lively characters. You know, some of those things in there. I did work with a Green Beret who was in a prior life a UFC fighter, and then decided that he was going to try something else and decided to become a Green Beret. So there are some of those facets in there, but I kind of pull from a lot of different people to really build out those characters.
Before we get into your book and diving into some of the stuff, tell our viewers and listeners what is a Green Beret? A lot of people may not know that.
That's a good question. So Green Berets are U.S. Army Special Forces. The term Special Forces gets thrown around, I think, quite a bit and usually improperly. Special Operations is what I think most people are meaning when they talk about Navy SEALs or Marine Raiders or these kind of elements. 160th Night Stalkers are all in the Special
Yeah.
Operations umbrella. The term Special Forces is unique to U.S. Army Special Forces, and that is the Green Berets. The Green Beret mission really became, Green Berets in general became more popularized kind of in the Vietnam War. That's where they started appearing on in media, and you get the Ballad of the Green Beret come out and all these things. But the Green Beret mission is unconventional warfare. So the job is to take an operational detachment alpha or an A team. I'm sure where that phrase comes from as well. And it's a 12-man team, and you insert them into a denied area. And their job is essentially to partner with local indigenous factions to coerce, disrupt, overthrow an occupying power or a government. So, they kind of are that warrior, scholar, teacher type mentality, which is why we learn languages, which is why we study regional expertise and cultures and things of that nature. And your job is essentially to work with these forces, to train them, to teach them how to fight their battles, to be a force multiplier, and then to go lead them and fight alongside them to accomplish their objectives, but also objectives that are obviously, in support of U.S. national security interests.
One of the things that I did not really think about when you, so like where we live in the United States, we think things are old here. Well, it's not old at all compared to there. When you were researching this, and maybe you knew already, like to the red tape, the political and like governmental and historical red tape that has to go through to even get to dig in one of these places or to go onto it. Did you really realize how much had to go, how many people you had to go through to get to be able to do that?
Yeah, there's a lot, and I'm not an archaeologist. I did speak to several archaeologists just to kind of understand more about that realm and how they go about doing things, and whether it's working in dig sites in Iraq or other locations, just kind of the hoops they have to jump through and the hurdles to get over it. And it's like anything else. Any bureaucratic process, I think, has a lot of red tape, and whenever you increase the factors, whether it's additional countries or what that might be, different organizations, that red tape's only gonna naturally increase.
And what you find too, like everybody's going to fight over what's found too. Like, I guess I just never thought about you read it and then you know it's there, but you never think about what it takes to get to it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you see that nowadays where, 100 years ago, Great Britain took stuff from one country and they have a museum, and now there's these talks now about where does that belong and should be brought back to this country or whatnot. So there's multiple layers to dig into the past and the world of antiquities for sure.
Mhm. It's some of the you're part of the it's a water study that what part of your book is based on. And there's another book coming out pretty soon. It's about sand. And it's just amazing how much the natural resources are and how valuable they become to certain countries, like the desert countries that have no water, very little water, and it becomes super valuable.
Absolutely. I think, when you look at a country like Saudi Arabia, for example, or some of these Gulf countries, they have oil. They have that wealth that comes from that. And what they're more concerned about is scarcity of water, is having that water crisis. And as their populations grow, as their reliance on that grows, as the use per capita for water grows, that crisis is arriving quicker, and with a more pressing need to solve it. So definitely a situation that needs to be solved. Also just provides a good material for writing a book like this.
Through your writing process, did you reach a point or a scene in the book that you were like, oh, hot damn, I've got this now. I can do it?
That's a good question. So when I was writing the book, I sort of formulated the idea for the book, and I sat down to write it, and I wrote it in about 3 months, maybe a little bit less. I People ask me what my hobbies are. I haven't really had hobbies. I've been in special forces for 20 years. There's been a lot of time for hobbies. It's not entirely true. I think my hobby is historical research. On my off time, I just go down these historical rabbit holes, and I study these things and try to learn about them. So the research for Desert Heist was probably years in the making, as I've approached this topic multiple times before. Once I formed the idea for the story, I kind of knew where I wanted it to go, and I started building it out from there. When I sat down to write, I related to what Stephen Pressfield calls the muse, or if you sit down and summon the muse, put yourself in the right mindset at the right place, the right time, the story will come. When I sat down to write, the story just kind of flowed through, and I think as I was writing the story was kind of when I had that moment of, oh, this is pretty good. This is yeah, I think I'd go back and read it and be like, oh, that was not bad.
Mhm.
I think that's probably the closest aha moment I think I had.
So you said it took you 3 months basically to write the initial draft. How
Mhm.
long did it take for the editing and from the time you sent it in and got your skip over the whole submission process, but once it was you signed a contract for your book, how long did it take for the editing to get it ready to go to press?
The editing was there was not that much critiquing done, I guess, as far as the editing process. There was some stuff in copy edits here and there, and honestly, it was interesting and it was fun because I would go back and forth with the copy editors because they had a lot of questions, not necessarily. This needs a comma or this here. There was plenty of that, but they just had questions like, does this make sense? Or should this be capitalized because this is a proper thing? And it was all things related to like military or special operations or some of the historical stuff. And so I was able to I guess kind of teach them some of those aspects that you wouldn't know if you're outside the community. So that was kind of fun. But once the process started, that's a good question. Probably maybe 5 months, 5 months back and forth with the editor and then the copy editors as well.
Yeah.
It was a while from when I signed the contract to when we really kind of started that process. So from kind of sealing the deal with Simon and Schuster with Emily Bessler Books to release was about a two year gap.
Emily, I don't, I guess you've seen yeah, of course you sent me the arc. Uh, she doesn't write a letter like she wrote for you in many of her books. Uh, there's always something in there from her, but is passionate about this book.
It was a lovely letter, and Emily is a very wonderful woman, and very gracious. And I'm very fortunate. Obviously, she has been a powerhouse behind a lot of great thriller writers and authors,
Mhm.
and I'm proud to be one in her stable. And I make this joke quite a bit, but I have a wonderful agent, Alexander Machinist. I have a wonderful editor in Emily Bessler. My publicist is David Brown, who is amazing. And
Mhm.
on the UK side, foreign rights wise, I'm working with Michael Joseph of Penguin Random House UK with Roland White, another great editor. I have an all-star team, so if Desert Heist is not successful, I am the weak link. It is my fault, and I'm the weak link because everybody else is top of their game.
I don't think you'll have much to worry about. It reads like a blockbuster. I mean, it really does. It's up there.
Well, thank you.
So this is kind of a personal question. You have lived this extraordinary life and seen so many things. What parts, how hard is it for you to say, okay, I'm not going to put that in there. This is for me to keep, or this would make good fodder for, Nate's adventure.
I think it is easier with this type of book. This is very much a high adventure historical mystery, laced or I guess ingrained with some of that grittier, maybe realism on the action side of the house that just I pull from some of my own experiences. Were I to sit down and try to write like a straight military thriller or a team of Green Berets going out and doing counterterrorism or whatever, that would be difficult for me, I think. One, I feel like it'd be exhausting. Maybe that's because I just retired, and so that's still that just seems like a lot of work and drudging up a lot of stuff from a 20-year career. But taking those aspects and using them to help drive forward a story that's much more, a Clive Cussler, Indiana Jones
Mhm.
adventure type style story. It's a lot easier, and it is I can take those experiences that I've had throughout my career and draw from them to help advance the story without having to have it be the baseline, if that makes sense.
Yep. Are you going to make this into a series? Is Nate coming back?
That's the plan. So Nate Wild book two is scheduled to come out next year already. And I'm currently working on book three. I have, I think, out to book seven outlined and ideas for probably up to 15 or 16
Oh wow.
where it stands.
Just an overachiever.
So here's the thing is that it was true. I didn't have hobbies, maybe than the historical research. My hobby now is writing. If I have free time and want to relax, I write, and it's what I actually enjoy doing. And I have so much fun doing the research, putting on paper, making the story come alive. that I would do this anyway, and I did do this anyway. Honestly, I wrote Desert Heist during a lull between deployments, and then I put it away, and I didn't really look at it again. And I had so much fun writing it that I actually wrote a second one, um, and didn't necessarily have any plans to do anything with it. I honestly thought I would just kind of stay in the military for 30, 35 years, whatever it was, until they kicked me out. And it wasn't until I met my now wife, who, when we were getting to know each other, I'd mentioned that I wrote something, and she offered to read it, which was a little bit nerve-wracking, probably for both of us, I think. But she read it and thought that there was something there, and so I kind of let a couple other buddies that I had in the community read it to get their thoughts, and got some good feedback. And from there, thought, okay, maybe there is something here, and kind of sent out through the query letter process, and then that kind of kicked off the whole journey. But honestly, I didn't write it thinking I'm going to write a book and get published. I wrote it because I just felt like I had a story to write, and it was a lot of fun writing it. And I would keep writing these things anyway.
Have you gotten any interest in from Hollywood? Any options out there?
I've not heard anything. I know that Desert Heist was briefly talked about in The Optionist as something that would probably make for a good movie or a good miniseries or something along those lines. But that's all I've heard. So we'll see what comes our way. But I'm just focused on getting the book out right now.
Yeah.
Have you read 1001 Nights and how many times?
I have read several stories in 1001 Nights. I don't think I've ever read it cover to cover. I've certainly hopped around and read much different stories. And how many times? I don't know. Probably a lot. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier the Kyle Klussler, Indiana Jones. When you thought of this character, Nate, did you envision an Indiana Jones type character when you were putting this down?
So I've always loved Indiana Jones. As I was a kid, I loved Indiana Jones, like a lot of a lot of people have, because he really is that pinnacle of just adventure, and going out there and having those solving those historical mysteries, things like that. So I've always loved that. I knew I wanted to do something in that genre. When I think about Indiana Jones, if you look at like the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Always loved it, never questioned it. As I get older and stuff, maybe I have some questions. This guy really gets away with a lot, whether he's riding a Nazi submarine through the Mediterranean somehow, subsurface or whatever. It's all good fun, and it's all great adventure. In my mind, I think what I was thinking was it'd be very cool if Indiana Jones had a background where all the things he pulls off, he's capable of, because it comes from somewhere. And there's a lot of things Indiana Jones that I think were either retconned or added throughout the years, whether
Yeah.
he fought in World War One or he was in the OSS in World War Two, or whatnot. But that core idea of someone who can solve these kind of mysteries and go on these adventures, but has this background where he's a Green Beret, he's a combat diver. He can do these things. If he gets in a fight, it makes sense that he can win it. If he gets in a shootout, it makes sense that he can handle himself. I wanted all the historical stuff to be grounded in reality. I wanted to be grounded in truth. And that's why, the historical threads that you pull, I obviously take some liberties, but you pull any historical thread and it leans back to something that is real. I wanted the action to be the same, especially with my background. I wanted it to resonate as real. And for a character to be able to continuously get through certain situations, that experience needs to come from somewhere. And so that's kind of how the character of Nate was born.
Nate's adversaries noticed that too in the story. They're like, yeah, well, who is this guy? He knows what he's doing. They pay attention to Nate.
He's underestimated, because why would you assume that a graduate student also has a dangerous background as a 10-year Green Beret? You probably wouldn't, and I don't think his adversaries do initially either.
And it's very accurate with the guns and the knives, all of the tactical gear. That it's all so accurate in this book too. It's very obvious of your background and that all that's included.
There are certain aspects of writing this book, and that's definitely one of them that was easy. That's just 20 years lived experience. I just write about what I know. I write about what I've used So that becomes very natural. If Nate's in a firefight, it may not be a complete recreation of something that I've been in, but all the aspects are there, and so it's easy to filter that in as well. So when it comes to Nate talking to Tim and Shane and Wally and having these experiences back and forth, I spent most of my career on teams or in troops, and just the natural interactions that occur between the characters. That's the daily lived experience. That was the easy part to write for sure.
Camaraderie also between Nate and Wally and uh, Tim, and Shane. That the camaraderie is so genuine because I've hung out with veterans before. Doing with the nonprofit. I mean, there are times when they don't care about catching fish. They just want to get on the boat, crack a beer, and talk. And I've spent hours and hours sitting on the back end of a boat, just listening, never opened my mouth one time. And these guys, it's just the camaraderie and the family feel. And some of these guys don't know each other from Adam, but when they get together, it's just there.
And that's the magic. It's the magic of it's certainly special operations. The military writ large is that. It's the one thing that everybody talks about that they miss whenever they leave. It's the one
Mhm.
thing that everybody enjoys when they get back together for reunions or events or things like that. And so it's core to who you are, and the longer you're in, the more that becomes part of it. And so there's a lot of I try to bring a lot of that into the book. And there's some of those undertones. These guys all got out of the military for one reason or another, and that's a piece of themselves they've been missing. And so as they come back together, they start rekindling that, and it starts flowing a little more naturally. Um, and that's again just based off lived experience. When you're away from it and you come back to it, and you see buddies you haven't seen in a couple of years or whatever it is, you pick up right where you left off, and it's natural.
Now that you're in this historical thriller, you know, it's very Indiana Jones. The question is though, is there a place or an adventure that you can't wait for Nate to get to? I mean, because like you have these hidden cities and all of these things that are passed around in stories, but you get to go after it. It's your world now. So where do you want to go?
Always the next book. So it's funny. So we have Desert Heist coming out in 40 something days. Book two has already been submitted to the editor, and I'm writing book three. So I'm already two books ahead of what Desert Heist and it hasn't even come out yet. So which is pretty wild. Um, in my mind, I'm several books ahead. I'm at least, six books ahead in my mind as I'm writing these out. There are certain, how do I say this without giving anything away? Um, there are things that Nate is looking for that even Nate doesn't know that he's looking for yet. And there are threads throughout every book to include Desert Heist that are interwoven into it that will become more apparent later. And so the idea is that when you're reading book six, Nate Wild, book six, you're going to read some things and you're going to realize that they were in Desert Heist and they didn't hold any meaning at the time. And now you realize that they do, and you realize why. And so it's fun thinking that far ahead and forecasting, because I get to basically, again, rather than having to go back and retcon things, I get to weave it in from the beginning, because I just plan on writing these forever. So
That's really cool because we like super readers. I mean, I'm a nerd. I'll just go ahead and say it. I love it. Man, the Easter eggs, and when you're two or 3 or 4 years into this part and you're like, oh my God, it was there. I found
I
it.
love I love Easter eggs. So absolutely,
Uh,
yeah. So it makes it a lot of fun to write. So yeah, but to answer your other question, so I do know where I'm going, and I'm excited for all of them really. I think I was very excited for book two and how that turned out, and the final twist on book two. Um, as I'm writing book three, I'm very excited about the different turn that it takes, and I'm very excited where, um, like you mentioned, I get to go to wherever I want and have them discover and experience that in whatever way that I want, and that's probably the best part about writing these.
The LiDAR. So,
Mhm.
which I think is really cool. And that's something that's been coming up really often in the news. I see it all of the time, finding different things. Have you got to like look at and experience some of that
Mhm.
technology up front? Tell me about it because I just think it's so cool. I mean, it's like an X-ray for the world, kind of. I mean, it's just so cool the things that we don't know.
So they, the military obviously uses it for different purposes. But I've had an experience on the military side of using it and seeing things that you otherwise wouldn't be able to see. Nowadays, you see it used a lot. In archaeological and research. Amazon's a great example, right? They've been doing all these LiDAR studies, using drones a lot of the time too, which is pretty fascinating. But to discover all of these left behind emplacements where structures were, where they realized that the Amazon jungle, when they thought it's been sparsely populated, actually seems like it could support large populations, millions of people, and they're seeing that through LiDAR. It's cutting through the canopy, and being able to see where all these structures were and where they were all built. Pretty fascinating stuff. And the applications for it, using it in places like the Amazon or in places that are vastly unexplored and unstudied, like the Sahara Desert, is I think will probably in years to come as that expands, start seeing a lot more of that, and then hopefully start learning a lot more about our history.
As a newly published author, what does success mean to you?
It's a good question. What does success mean to me? I think, my goal is to continue writing these and what do they say? You find something you love and then find a way to make money at it, right? So my goal is that I can write this and this can be just the full-time thing that I do from now on, because I do enjoy writing it and I have a lot of other ideas as well that stem or maybe branch off from some of this, and so um, the goal would be for this to be a self-sustaining entity.
Is there a genre that you would like to go off into? Or is it all going to be military suspense, thriller type stuff? Or is it like maybe, romance?
I don't know if I don't know if I have the chops for romance, but maybe there's some different areas that I can explore. I don't want to say too much because I have
I got you.
some ideas, but yeah,
Was there one of the team members that was harder to write than the other ones?
I think the hardest one to write was probably Wally, um, because he's British. Now I've worked with a lot of British special operations throughout my career, so that wasn't necessarily difficult. The lingo
Mhm.
is the thing. So it doesn't matter how much time you spend with other people and cultures, picking up their slang and things like that. Um, Using them in the right context at the right time could be more difficult than than you would think. Fortunately, my UK editor, Roland White, as I spoke with him, and as he very graciously offered to let me take a look at it and see just maybe some of the lingo, maybe Wally would say this instead of this. That makes sense. I said, please. So he gave me a couple of critiques here and there as far as to make that more natural so that somebody who cracks the book open in London will not feel taken out of it and will feel at home on that aspect.
Speaking of lingo and speech, is the audiobook going to be a single narrator or will it be a cast? Do you know?
Single narrator, it's Eduardo Ballerini, who is award winning and a fantastic narrator. So very excited and humbled that he is doing this book, and I'm certainly excited to listen to it. So
Yeah, me too. It's on the little advanced copies of audiobooks, but they don't come near as early as the books.
all
So we
right,
get them like maybe 2, 3 weeks before they're published.
okay,
And I was hoping to get it before today, but it's still not available. It's listed, but it's not available. I'm still excited. I'm gonna listen to it.
I
Uh,
am too. Yeah,
yeah,
and I don't have any insider information as to when that will come available,
yeah,
but
yeah,
we're 40, I don't know, 46, 45 days out, so we know at
yeah.
least where the backstop is.
Are you excited for some of your readers to maybe reach out after the book is out and set a minute where they've learned something new in the book? Like there's different things I picked up. I'm a great rabbit holer, like I and highlighter and annotator, and I do it. And because the one thing that stuck out to me was the logogram. Logo, am I saying that right? Logogram, which is versus the hieroglyphics. Like I really enjoy learning about that part. It's just something and that I didn't know about. Are you excited for hearing those kind of stories?
I am. Some people that I've already given advance copies to read. I've gotten some feedback already, some similar to that. Of I didn't know about LiDAR imagery and how that's being used, or I didn't realize, um, the hydrology of Saudi Arabia and what that looks like, or whatnot. So it's interesting to hear, and it's nice because I've always loved. I can remember when Da Vinci Code, Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code came out, and reading it. I think I was still a teenager, and I remember reading it and just like wanting to look everything up because it was so interesting, and he was pulling all this stuff, and is that real? Is that? And so I'd go and I'd research and whatever, and that's kind of the same thing, the same feeling I wanted to give. I want people to learn something as they go, which is why I wanted there to be so much ground truth and realism to everything. And so if you look at Bertram Thomas and what his expedition looked like whenever he crossed the Arabian desert, um, you can go pull on that thread and you can see that he did, and he did in that year, and this is how it went, and this is what it looked like, and this is what he found, and so it's fun because it's not. It's not nonfiction, but there's enough nonfiction in there that you get to learn something while you're having a good time.
I really like the maps. I thought they added a whole lot of background into the areas that where the groups are going. It was just not. It was neat to be able to see the maps in the book.
So the maps are interesting. So my Nate's background mirrors a lot of mine. I was a Special Forces intelligence sergeant at one point for many years, and a lot of that is just like Nate. You build the picture of enemy networks and things like that, and you do so by link analysis charts and graphs and map overlays, just like Nate builds the map overlays. So as I was writing Desert Heist to keep my own kind of thoughts clear on what's happening and where it's going, I created these maps. I created these map overlays. And then after I'd already submitted the book and signed on with Emily and everything else, the thought occurred to me, does this make sense to have these maps included? And so I was able to submit these maps, and then the team out there at Atria, Simon Schuster, were able to come up with the redesigned maps and things. But it's cool. It's cool. The maps are in there are the maps that I used in building the story, essentially,
Uh,
and they're then the maps that Nate uses to solve the mystery himself. So it's kind of a fun duality there.
Literally, I'm sitting here thinking about what you said about what Nate's looking for, and this book starts out looking for the lost city. And now my mind is turning. All right, now I want to hurry up and get to the next, 6 books and find out. So, I mean, because we all are kind of looking for something in the end. Ah,
Absolutely.
you've planted a seed. It's
Well, that's good. That's
is
I planted the seed myself, so this is one of those things where I joke that I feel like I always have 20 browser tabs open in my mind at any given time because I'm always thinking of these, and I'm writing book three, I'm thinking about book four, five, six, and then something I have these running lists of notes that I'm like, oh, this would be good for book seven, and I'll include this here, and so I'm kind of concurrently building everything as I go, even though I'm only promoting one at a time, editing one at a time, and writing one at a time. Thinking about all the rest.
is there an author that you would like to co-write with? Have you thought about anything like that, collaborating?
I haven't. I think I have so much fun writing these. I don't know that I would necessarily want to do that with anyone, at least not now. Maybe at some point where you get to, I if I'm ever fortunate enough to get to a level of a Tom Clancy or a Jack Carr or whatever that might be, where they're in that space and they have so many ideas and so many things in the works that co-writing makes sense. But from where I'm at now in the foreseeable future, I have so much fun writing these. Like I said, it's essentially my hobby now. So
If you were on a road trip, you could take Indiana Jones or Jason Bourne. Who would you take?
where are we going?
How about just from New York to California?
Indiana Jones. I feel like I'd be familiar with a lot of the things Jason Bourne will talk about anyhow. So Indiana Jones, I think, would be the more compelling conversationalist.
There, if you were on a deserted island, what book would you have with you?
Ooh, that's a great question. What book would I have with me? The Count of Monte Cristo.
Oh,
Oh,
that's not what I would have thought, but yeah, that works.
It's all about that survival and that grit and that will. You might need a morale boost, something to keep you stoic as you're on that island.
is there an artifact that you've been writing about that you would actually like to hold?
Yeah, all of them probably, for sure. But some are by legend more dangerous than others. So yes, but I don't think I can say because I'll give stuff away.
Asking too many questions about
No,
the.
they're good. They're good.
That's so funny.
All right,
Okay,
so
what was your favorite MRE?
beef stew,
Would you rather have compass or GPS?
compass,
Egypt or Mesopotamia?
Mesopotamia.
Historical figure you'd like to have dinner with?
Ooh, let's see, that's tough to pick. Let me come back to that one. I
And
gotta,
your most played song from Spotify?
I actually don't know. That's a great question. I can tell you. Let me see. Or can I tell you?
My Spotify list changes with my mood. Like every day, I could be listening to classical music today and heavy metal tomorrow, so I never know.
Mine is all Tina Turner.
Okay, I don't know how to find it, but I got an eclectic mix, I think.
That's how mine is. Do you have a hidden talent?
I play the guitar.
Oh, there you go.
What are your social media handles and how can people connect with you on social media?
On most of the handles, I think I'm ALX Dekker. Alex Dekker was taken. So that's where you can find me. And my website is alexdekkerofficial.com.
Are you going to go on book tour with this?
I have two scheduled so far. On August 1st, I'll be at Bethany Beach Books in Bethany Beach, Delaware. And August 8th, I will be at Fountain Books in Richmond, Virginia.
Okay. Do you have a local bookstore that will carry signed copies that people can get if they're interested in that?
I don't know yet, but I will be going around and signing copies wherever I see them. So
Okay.
I'll post that as I do.
Alex Dekker's newest book, Desert Heist, is available July the 28th from Emily Bessler Books, Simon & Schuster, Atria. Check it out.